Okay, good evening. We're going to talk about the name of the Messiah in this episode, the name of the Mashiach. And I want to read from my notes, and then we're going to make some comments here. But the name Jesus that you see in most of your English translations was not in existence when the 1611 King James Bible translation came about. And most people don't know that. I even have a copy of the original 1611 King James Bible. It's a copy of it, but it's not a real genuine. But it's a copy of the original 1611 Bible, and in it you'll not find the name Jesus in there at all. It didn't really come into the King James Bible until around 1628, I believe, and that was because in 1611. The letter J was really not prominent in the English language. It was starting to be introduced in the English language, but it predominantly was not used. It was just beginning to be used, and actually in the beginning of the 17th century is when the letter J began to be prominent in the English language. And actually, it's the last letter that actually came into the English language. But it was, and so, most people have no idea about that. Now, what you do find in the original 1611 Bible is the name, Latin form of the Messiah's name, and it's as written as IESVS, or you'll see it IESUS. But and it would be pronounced, it's the Latin form of the name, which is Jesus. Now, I'm sure that you could understand that the Messiah was never called Jesus. Now, they say that name is a translation or a transliteration of the Greek name Iesus. Now, if you've done any really study of the scriptures and understand the scriptures, you understand that the Messiah himself was Jewish. He was born into a Jewish family. He came from the tribe of Yahusha, and he had a Hebrew name because he would have been given a Hebrew name. And so Jesus is not a Hebrew name. Neither is Jesus, nor either is Iesus. Iesus is Greek, of course. Jesus is Latin, and Jesus is English. So he was never given either of these names. And most people, like I said, just can't grasp that because they really don't understand that how we got our scriptures and how that there are actually translations, or they call them translations, but in some translations are good or better than others, of course, and some are bad translations, and some verses in the scriptures are translated incorrectly or in a bad way. But you wouldn't know that unless you did the research and look up the original meaning of some of the words that are in the scriptures to find out if that was the case. Now, one of the things that started my journey was about 10 years ago. Someone gave me a cassette series about his name is Yahweh. That's what it was entitled. And in there, he brought out the fact that the name of the Creator had been edited out of our English translations 6,823 times in the Old Testament and approximately 200 times in the New Testament. Now, Yahweh is not how to pronounce the Creator's name, but this person, in fact, for the first probably 6 months or almost a year of me researching, I thought his name was Yahweh. But because I did more study and really found out and dug deeper, that I found out his name is pronounced as Yahuwah. Now, I've done many videos about that. You can go back and listen to that. I don't want to teach again on the name of Yahuwah. I want to teach on the name of the Messiah, Mashiach, and share some of the things and truths that I had found out. Now, there was no J letter in Hebrew. Never has been, not even to this day is there a J letter in Hebrew. There's not a J letter in Greek. And so, this idea that he was called Jesus, is really just not not scriptural. It's not provable. But what it is provable is if you go and look up the original scriptures, you'll find that his name is in the original text as Yahusha. We're going to talk about that. Maybe not in this video, but we'll get to it eventually. Excuse me. Okay, I want to go back to my notes here. The name Jesus was not in existence when the 1611 King James translation came about. In ancient times, what do they call the Messiah? Remember, they were Hebrews and they spoke the Hebrew language. They didn't speak English because English wasn't invented yet. The answer is simple. The people that day called the Mashiach, or the Messiah, by his Hebrew name. Scripture shows us even that he told the Apostle Paul his name in Hebrew. Now, you'll find this in Acts chapter 26, verse 14 and 15. Now, Paul, in these verses here, is going over his experience of what happened to him on the road to Damascus when the Messiah appeared to him. And this is what transpired. It says, Acts 26, verse 14 and 15. And when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking to me and saying in the Hebrew tongue, or you could say the Hebrew language, Saul, Shaul, Shaul, why persecutest me? It is hard for you to kick against the pricks. And I said, who are you, Master? And he said, I am Yahusha, who you persecute. Yahusha spoke to Paul Shaul in Hebrew and said his name to Paul in Hebrew language, not English, nor Greek, but Hebrew. So you notice right here, it said that he spoke to him. Yahusha says right here, Yahusha spoke to Paul in Hebrew, spoke his name in Hebrew, because he said he spoke in the Hebrew tongue or Hebrew language. So he didn't speak in Aramaic, he didn't speak in Greek, he didn't speak in Latin or English. He spoke to him in Hebrew because his name is Hebrew. And this right here proves that, proper names are not changed. You have whatever name you have in a certain language, you have that same name in whatever other language that it's spoken in. And so proper names should never have been transliterated like this or translated like this, because they're not. You don't translate proper names. You do transliterate them. Let me correct what I'm saying. You do transliterate, but to transliterate a name means to carry over the same sound from the original language into the language that you're speaking in. You carry the same sound, maybe using the different letters of the second language to make the same sounds as the original sounds of the original letters. So I'm going to share some more on this on our next video, but I hope this is helping you, and this is a good foundation for those who have no clue, that you can share with others to help them to understand that the name of the Messiah is Yahusha, is Hebrew. And we'll talk about why that I believe that it is Yahusha and not some of these other variations. Thank you for your time. Till next time, shalom.